Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Paul Stevens, editor of Short-Term Rentals, and welcome to this Short-Term Rentals webinar on Simplify with Zimplify, automating vacation rental accounting in partnership with our friends at Zimplify. And this is me, Paul Stevens, editor of Short-Term Rentals and host for today's session. A big welcome and thank you to our session sponsor, Zimplify. We're going to hear a little bit more from them and their founder, Jesse, shortly. But firstly, here's an introduction to the company. So Zimplify is a technology-enabled accounting and consulting firm offering world-class accounting services and technology solutions to short-term rental property managers. In terms of webinar guidelines for today, please keep your sound on mute and your camera off if you're not speaking. I'm being ably assisted by my colleagues Flor and Joe today. All the details you can find in the chat, so please do post any questions you have there as well. We're going to have time for an audience Q&A at the end. A recording will also be sent round to everyone after today's session. We expect today's session, the main discussion, to last around 30 minutes, leaving time for roughly about 15 minutes of an audience Q&A. So please do post your questions in the chat for us. So let me introduce our speaker lineup for today. We're going to get everyone to briefly introduce themselves. So why don't we start with Jesse from Zimplify. Take it away, Jesse.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Well, yes, I am the founder and CXO of Zimplify. Prior to working with Zimplify, I spent a little north of 10 years with a global accounting firm, PricewaterhouseCoopers. After that, I became the CFO of a global luxury real estate investment firm and property management company. So they were, you know, a 6-star global financial company that really needed a lot of help with their finances. And so that's how I got my start in the short-term rental industry prior to starting Zimplify.
Excellent. We're going to hear a little bit more about that story very shortly. So thank you for that introduction, Jesse. Next up, we have Taylor from Effortless Rental Group. Take it away, Taylor.
Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor Hills. I'm the CEO of Effortless Rental Group and Effortless Stay. We're based in Denver, Colorado, and we manage about 150 properties across the state. We primarily manage single-family homes, but more recently, we've begun to manage boutique hotels around Denver. So I think we've been working with Jesse for about 3 years now, and you know, I'd say historically we've gone through the ringer in the accounting world and process. So yeah, happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Excellent, and great to have you on today's panel, Taylor. And last but not by no means least, we have Evan from Hoste.
Thank you. Hey guys, Evan Wilburn here. I'm the CEO and founder of Hoste. We're a short-term rental management company, turnkey in Colorado Springs, right under where Taylor is, about an hour south of where Taylor is. We manage close to 200 short-term rentals, all residential homes, everything from a 1-bedroom to a 7-bedroom luxury mansion. Yeah, we've been working with Ximplify for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years now. And so, yeah, thanks.
Excellent. And again, fantastic to have you on today's panel, Evan. So we've heard from all of our speakers there. And just to add a little bit of context to today's discussion, we've covered Zimplify a couple of times on short-term rentals before. Its partnership with property management software Hoste. And just last month, the company secured investment from the co-founders of SpotX, who you can see on your screen. I'm sure we'll be hearing a little bit more about that from Jesse very shortly. So we're going to start off just before we go to Jesse, well, we're going to hear from Jesse first, and then we're going to go for a Q&A with Evan and Taylor, and then we'll have a little bit of time for an audience Q&A in the end. So let's start off with Jesse. Let me start by asking you first how you actually got started in the short-term rental industry in the first place.
Well, yeah, thanks, Paul. Well, as I talked about, I was working with PricewaterhouseCoopers and came across this company Cuvée that again was an incredible company from a travel experience standpoint, incredible homes around the world, but they really struggled, like a lot of property management companies do, with producing financial statements, both internally and obviously for their owners. And so I started off with them simplifying their accounting processes, implementing a new financial management solution for them, building up their accounting team. And I really looked around, always having wanted to start my own accounting firm. And I said, I really think there's an opportunity in this industry to one, provide world-class accounting services, which really nobody was doing at the time. And really there's not a whole lot of folks out there that really specialize and understand this industry. And second, just from a thought leadership, both from technology and processes, there wasn't a whole lot out there. And so I thought, hey, this is a great opportunity to combine my passion for small businesses with my expertise in the vacation rental industry world, as well as my passion for leveraging technology to simplify processes and improve accounting and reporting. And that's really where we came up with the idea of Zimplify to support this industry.
So essentially it was about spotting this gap in the accounting, in this accounting space. I'm not quite sure what you would call it in the short-term rental space. Was that the motivating factor for launching Zimplify in the first place?
Yeah. Well, first outsourcing obviously has really taken on a life of its own, I think, over the last 10 to 15 years, where you look to, especially as you're founding a business and getting going, you start to look for people with expertise in a certain arena that you don't necessarily have, outsource to that team in order to, remove the burden of trying to find an accountant. One, finding someone is really challenging, right, in today's labor market, but it really always has been. And then finding somebody with the expertise in this industry is really challenging. So you're right. I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I really wanted to start my own firm. And then they always say, hey, you really need to specialize in an industry. And as I looked around at the short-term rental industry, again, there just wasn't a whole lot of, really wasn't anybody else out there that was focusing on it, that was providing solutions to this industry. And so that's where I said, hey, I think there's a great opportunity here.
And you've already, I note that you already made a mention of these world-class accounting services as well. And I note from our previous discussions as well that you place this strong emphasis on taking a best-in-class approach. Would you like to just explain what that actually means and why you take such an approach?
Yeah, definitely. And first I'll speak to those world-class accounting services. And I think one of the, a lot of people, I think when they're starting out any business, they think, hey, well, I need to find a bookkeeper. That's kind of a bad word in our world, in our company. We don't want to be your bookkeeper. We want to be your accounting and finance team and your advisors. So that means that we provide a team of people, from folks that are AP specialists to staff accountants and senior accountants, accounting managers that are going to support you, that have expertise in the industry, to, again, really become an extension of you and your organization. But to your second point, which is, hey, why do we use this best-in-class approach? And probably best to also talk about what is a best-in-class approach. Really, that just means, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to find the property management solution that fits my business perhaps my budget the best, and then I'm going to combine that with other tools such as, hey, what's the best accounting platform, whether that's QuickBooks, whether that's Xero, or what we use for a lot of our clients, which is Sage Intacct, a really first-class financial management solution. And so we're going to combine the different tools that work for us the most, and we're going to integrate those to support trust accounting, financial management, or your own management company reporting. And so that really gives you the opportunity to choose the tools that best fit. And what we found was that there's a lot of folks that either were using systems that don't have an accounting platform, and so, well, they need a solution, or we have folks that were coming to us that were using systems that have a trust accounting platform, but they were disappointed in the user experience, the functionality, et cetera. And so we said, hey, well, let's just plug these platforms in to first-class accounting systems such as QuickBooks, Xero, or Sage Intacct, and to support the trust accounting and the again, the management company accounting using those tools. And oh, by the way, we can plug into other platforms such as, AP tools, HR and payroll tools, connect with Breezeway, integrate with My Lodge Tax, et cetera. So, that really is what started our best-in-class approach to solving the vacation rental accounting problems.
Yeah, and we've also already linked back to the story of you integrating with Hosteway as well. So, yeah. I'm combining with my next question, but why do you go for these integrations? Are there any specific problems that people are coming to you with that has made you make these decisions?
Yeah, well, one, when we look at again the two, let's call them traditional approaches, or we have a traditional approach, which is, hey, I'm going to handle trust accounting perhaps within my property management platform. Well, even when you have this trust accounting within a property management system, there's a lot of data entry that needs to go back and forth, right? We might have expenses that are incurring within the accounting platform that need to be put in as work orders or bills to get paid back to the operating company. There's also all sorts of revenue transactions that are occurring within the property management system, and those have to be manually input. If you're not integrated, they have to be manually input into the accounting system. Creates a number of challenges. One, that manual transfer. Two, opportunity for error. Three, it really becomes a struggle at that point to get real-time reporting. You're closing down your property management system for several days after a month in, and you really don't have a good idea of how you're performing as a management company until like once a month. Again, or we have those folks that don't have a property management system, and then you've got to somehow figure out, hey, how am I going to bring in this data from my property management system and support trust accounting and reporting and your own management company reporting. So integration just really decreases, obviously, manual work, opportunity for error, streamlines your processes, and helps achieve more real-time reporting for the property management company.
And indeed, there we can see on the platform with your slides how Zimplify fits into this. Your platform fits into the accounting landscape there as well.
Yeah, we, again, when we had all these different folks come to us, for example, Taylor, who's on today, he was previously using Hosteway. He's since moved to Track, and we really needed to find a solution that integrated both those different systems into the accounting platform that we use with Effortless, which is Sage Intacct. So we're building an integration between Track and Sage Intacct using our integration platform, VR platform, to make sure that his data is being transferred on a real-time basis. And so, but beyond just track, we connect with directly with Airbnb. We integrate with Stripe. We're actually getting ready to add VRBO, multiple property management systems. And we're going to use, so we use all of those different integrations to bring in the data. We call it right sizing the data. And that is going to support, obviously, the reporting back in the accounting platform, and then also obviously support your owner payments and owner statements to make sure that those owners are paid out right on time, every time, using our platform technology.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jesse. And we've just put in the chat there, please do post any questions you have in the chat. We've come to the end of the first part of this webinar, but we do have an audience Q&A coming up in a little bit. So we'll come back to you, Jesse, very soon. But we're now going to hear from two successful property managers in the US and how Zimplify's automation accounting services are helping to power their growth. So Taylor, we'll come to you first from Effortless. Could you just talk to us a little bit about what Effortless Rental Group is, maybe a little bit about the sort of problems that you were experiencing before you joined with Zimplify, and maybe what PMS or accounting system you were using as well?
Sure. Effortless is a full turnkey property management company based in Denver. And, I will say I touched on it briefly in the introduction, but I think we've definitely experienced ups and downs with our accounting process. In the beginning, we had an in-house bookkeeper, as Jesse called it. We were using multiple different property management systems and not really getting an accurate scope on our finances. So that can, be referred to our bank account and matching up payments. Also, our owner statements were all done manually at the time by our bookkeeper. There was continual errors on owner statements. And when there's errors on owner statements, owners start questioning everything else about the process and the company. So, we would send out, 150 owner statements, then we'd get maybe 20 back with questions and errors and have to go back through and correct those. Owner statements also took, the team 10 days. We'd pay clients 20 days after the following month. So we did that for, the first 4 years that we were in business. We then hired an outside QuickBooks consultant that came in. They took a look at our processes, took a look at our property management system, where we were getting all these bookings from, and they pretty much threw their hands in the air after 2 months. So we were just at a inflection point where we needed to make big changes, and we were not seeing accurate reporting from our property management system. I have yet to see, out of the 5 property management systems that we've actually used, and then another 5 or 10 that we've vetted, the actual accounting specifics that we really want to see. I think everybody is familiar with property management systems telling you that they have all the solutions that you need. And then once you get in bed with them, you start to realize that you're missing quite a bit of data or services that they promise. So yeah, I'm really excited about the integration that we have going with Jesse, seeing that data in real time, getting everything down to the exact cent. I think we're looking at multiple other booking platforms that we want to list our properties on, but we also do a bunch of test bookings prior to flipping on switches. And we're still seeing that the payouts are not coming in to the exact cent. So when you look at doing 6,000 reservations a year, it's off by 3 to 5 cents, maybe $1. That adds up and creates issues. So we are very hesitant at this point to jump to new booking platforms until we have fully vetted them.
Excellent. Thank you, Taylor. Could you tell us a little bit about how, since you've been working with Zimplify, how the company has helped you solve some of these issues, and what have been maybe the notable changes that you've seen as a result?
Yeah, so I think, as I stated, we had a bookkeeper, and then we had another individual in our accounting department in-house as well. And they were processing AP and whatnot. They were also helping out with owner statements, but I think we were all in agreement that we didn't have a firm solution for our numbers. So it was suspicious timing that Jesse reached out to me, actually, because we were at a place of desperation. And I think Jesse's team came in at the perfect time, took over AP for us, took over owner statements. Jesse's team was handling those manually at first as well, and also assisting with our cash position, making sure that we were, implementing trust accounting, and also advising as a CFO. So there was a lot of industry knowledge that Jesse has with working with other property management companies, where when, I come to him with a problem, Jesse can say, well, this is kind of the industry norm. You guys should consider, changing your processes this way. And it's been super helpful to have him be a part of Effortless in a lot of ways, and being able to check in with him to see how things are going. And then also have dedicated team members from Ximplify that work with Effortless. So I would say in general, things have gotten quite a bit smoother. We can actually, track our performance and how Effortless is doing, and then also budget for the future, which we haven't been able to do in previous years. So, I'd say a lot of the stress that the industry has, brought me personally, has been relieved by having accounting dialed in.
And as a company that provides this turnkey service for property owners as well, what do you think, from your own perspective, what do you think property managers are going to be looking from their accounting systems now in the future as well?
Yeah, I think, we were talking about this before the meeting started, but, if a client wants to see a breakdown on their owner statement of gross revenue, cleaning fees, platform fees, taxes collected and paid on their behalf, or taxes that are being paid out to them, it really needs to illustrate that as simple as possible. I think a lot of owner statements are confusing. Clients sometimes don't know how to read them. They have questions. They can either, based on how you structure them, they can either be more confusing or simplified for the client. So I think property management systems that allow customization per client, that doesn't just affect the entire portfolio, would be super helpful. And also that just clearly outlines taxes that are owed, taxes that are not owed. A lot of the times when you look at these owner statements, they're really bland. They aren't very sharp looking, and there's just kind of a lot of information there, or it's lacking a lot of information, which sparks more questions. So ideally, fine tuning the customization on owner statements would be great. And then, I would just say more information. Sorry, I had a brain fart there, but more information, and also the ability to provide less information as well.
Thank you, Taylor. We're going to turn to Evan now. I'd be interested to hear if some of the observations that you've had are the same, or at least similar. You're also based in the greater Colorado Springs area as well. I know you've really interesting background to you launching your business. So let's hear a little bit more about Hoste, and also some of the problems you were experiencing with your own accounting before.
Absolutely.
Starting.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. So, I always like to say that Hoste started from my basement, which, me and my brother Phil, we were both in the Air Force for 6 years, and, decided to rent out our rooms in our home, like Airbnb style home sharing, and realized there weren't at the time in 2017 weren't many companies that were managing short-term rentals, and so we decided to take it upon ourselves to start a short-term rental management business. And lo and behold, there was a big need, and it ended up growing pretty rapidly. And right now we're sitting at around 200 properties in just this El Paso region, Colorado Springs, few outlying cities, and we're looking to obviously expand that. And the trust accounting piece, the accounting, having the proper financial data is an important aspect of that. And but yeah, I want to start off as saying, like, trust accounting, accuracy, the proper accounting and timeliness of paying customers and owners is like the single biggest way of building trust with owners. And it's the single biggest way to lose trust with owners if you're improperly accounting for funds or you're making mistakes in the accounting process. But it's actually really hard to do when you have hundreds of properties. When you start to get to a bigger scale, you have hundreds of properties, hundreds of owners, thousands of transactions going through. All these transactions need to go to a different place. Each transaction's coming from a different platform where there's different fee structures and different cities with sales tax and all that. So it actually gets really complex when you start to get to a bigger scale. And so, we started off, our one problem was, I'm actually a software developer by trade before I started Hoste. I don't know how I got into property management, but ended up here. So, but yeah, basically we tried to build a connection from QuickBooks to Guesty. And, as we started scaling the business up, we spent 6 months, I was doing the accounting myself with trying to hire bookkeepers, and, people just weren't connecting the dots on how to do short-term rental trust accounting because of the complexity. And, after 6 months of trying to build this connection internally, we found that, hey, QuickBooks is not the right solution for this. And so we, obviously ended up looking for other solutions, but, QuickBooks sort of doesn't have the intercompany receivables or the tracking by owner balances. And so it was lacking a lot of key features to do this at a larger scale. It's not really a great enterprise solution for this. And really the second problem was, again, going back to trying to hire internal staff. Again, it's really hard to train people on this. It's a little bit more complex, even with automation, to understand all the moving pieces and everything that's going on. It's really complex, and it's a lengthy training process. So basically, we would hire someone and they wouldn't work out. And so when they wouldn't work out, it'd sort of fall back on my shoulders as a CEO because I was the only one that knew how to do it. And so, having that continuity obviously is really important. And then, my job as a CEO, really me having to do the actual accounting or having to worry about this problem was really affecting my duties as the CEO and growing the company and, working on the product. If I'm spending time on accounting for funds, then I'm not spending time allocating resources in the business. And so, it was really important for us to try to automate this or at least get it off our shoulders. So, like Taylor was saying, he was spending 10 days. I think we were pretty similar. It was taking 10 days of staff time and to try to account for all these funds and try to do it right and try to get it super accurate. So, really what we wanted to do was get to a real-time accounting data feedback loop. And so what that means is so we can basically make quick decisions and allocate resources effectively. How do we, like, answering questions, how do we grow a $1 million business to a $10 million business? Or how do we, now how do we grow a $10 million business to a $100 million business? Well, it takes a lot of financial planning. You need to know what your cash flows are. You need to know what's in your bank account. You need to know what your owners are making. So, it becomes extremely important to measure how decisions you make in the real world of your business or the actual business are going to affect the actual financials in the back end.
Thank you, Evan. And, could you expand a little bit on what, working with Zimplify has done for your business? Have there been any recognizable benefits, whether it's like the satisfaction of your owners or better insights? Yeah, what would you put your finger on?
Yeah, I think Sage Intact was a great solution to the QuickBooks problem. Sage Intact is more of an enterprise solution for a growing company like us, or probably someone with like, more than 25 properties. And it becomes a really good solution. It solves a lot of the automation behind intercompany receivables, not having to run two separate companies. It keeps accurate accounting of owner balances. It has a more robust reporting. And Ximplify sort of has like a great way of implementation of Sage Intact that they built out that's sort of suited for our business. And so that was the one. And then, with Zimplify, they have bookkeepers and accountants on staff, and that continuity piece of having not if our in-house bookkeeper left, basically we'd still have someone to plug in, so the accounting show would always go on whether or not we had internal staff or not. And so just having that continuity was really important for us. And the reporting process is more robust. It's we're able to make better decisions based on the financial data we're getting, and better reporting. And so that's really what this is about. It's having the correct data to make the proper decisions as the leader of your company or as the business owner, the CEO. So I think it's really important. And really for us, the power of focus is important. So we're already managing like 5 to 10 businesses in one. We're managing a cleaning company, a maintenance company, a revenue management team. The list goes on for how many sort of side businesses we're managing. And so I think it's okay to pass on some specialized domains to someone who knows what they're doing. And that's what we did. So, but I mean, to put it in perspective, before we joined Zimplify, so before we started working with them, we were about 80 to 90 properties. And, obviously today we're at 200. So, I don't know if our owners could necessarily recognize the benefits. It's sort of a background process that's happening, but at least they get to see the benefits of our teams refocus into the actual core product.
Fantastic. And for those reasons, and looking ahead to the future, is there anything specifically that you or other property managers like you do you think will be looking for from their accounting systems as a result of the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think it's sort of this theme of automation. More automation, please, is what everybody probably wants. I mean, no one wants to sit around and account for funds manually or like fiddle with numbers. And so we really just want the information so we can make decisions. And so the more automation we can get to drive that from managing owner bills or the reservations or refunds, all that stuff, how do we get it where it is an automated process when it's so complex? And I think that's going to be more and more important. And then making that financial data more real time. I think the faster you have the information to make decisions on the financial data, the better, the more informed decisions you can make by using that data. So, I think it's like, financials create a decision-making advantage if you get them quicker, essentially. So the financial data tells a big story of your business, and it's a bit, it's like the other half of the story about your business. Every action you do in your business probably has a financial impact. So
excellent. Taylor, were you wanting to add something on to the end of that?
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback on what Evan said, and I think it would be great if on owner statements it showed a snapshot of historical occupancy rates and revenue. I think it's shocking that I still can't toggle on a switch within Track owner statement portal that shows what their occupancy rate was for the month. But I will say it'd be awesome to show historical data at the bottom of the owner statement, occupancy rates, ADRs in previous months, and then also show future data and projections as well. I think that would essentially take away a lot of questions that come into the client relations department. How are my future bookings looking? What is the projected occupancy rate? What do you think I'm going to do this year? So I think, having that ability, for instance, we use Beyond Pricing. having a connection there where we could import data from the data that we're seeing from Beyond Pricing that shows historical and future revenue would be an awesome feature to also include on owner statements, or just be able to upload into Track's owner portal.
Thank you.
I thought maybe it makes sense for me to, excuse me, address, those comments, as well as someone asked if owner statements, generated by us can be posted into the Hostaway owner portal. Excuse me, but if a couple things, Taylor mentioned that currently he uses Track, and they use the owner statements within the Track platform to send out to their clients, and then we're bringing that data back in to Sage Intacct to produce his internal reporting. Evan is a bit different. He uses Guesty. We actually bring all that data, automatically using our integrations into Sage Intacct, and then we produce his statements automatically out of Sage Intacct. But I think they hit on a great point, which is, we work really hard to give Evan and Taylor real-time insight into how their business is performing. But owners, they want that same real-time insight, and it really gives property managers a competitive advantage when they can provide that. And so, to kind of bring this all together is that we are basically, we're within weeks of launching our first owner statement in portal. So we produce, these owner statements, whether it's out of QuickBooks or whether it's out of Sage Intacct. We now bring that data back into our own owner statement portal that can be published and sent out and viewed by the owner. There's other types of things and functionality that we want to put into that portal, such as letting them block their calendar and whatever PMS someone might be using. But the next step is to really build out what we're calling our VR dashboard, and that is going to really give owners access to that information that Taylor's talking about, adding in things like ADR, being able to filter on dates to see historical data, or even look into the future and see how they're performing, how the rest of their year is shaping up. Again, all with the goal of, giving not only the property manager real-time insight, but giving that owner real-time insight to give the property manager a competitive advantage over that property manager down the road that might not be providing that data on a real-time basis.
Excellent.
And sorry, I would just to answer that question on the owner statements populated into Hostfully's owner portal. Currently, we don't do that. Again, the reason why we don't is because we're looking to build a functionality that is far superior to the property manager portals. And so, not to say we wouldn't ever. We have talked to Hostfully a bit about it, but we don't currently do that. Owners would use our portal to view their statement.
Yeah, thank you very much for those insights. We're getting quite a few questions coming in, so I'm mindful of the time, but we've got plenty coming in, so I want to try and get in as many as we can. So Marie Rada has asked, what aspects of your accounting processes would you still consider manual? Who wants to come in on that point?
Well, since we do all the accounting, I guess I'll cover it. Certainly for these guys, just to talk about what our integration platform does with, let's say our key integrations is we're going to take, as a booking is confirmed, an invoice is posted into the accounting system. Any updates to that reservation is updated automatically. Any cancellations or refunds, those are posted and recorded automatically. We're integrated with Airbnb directly. So we're actually the only platform in the world that gets the Airbnb payout data via API. And so we actually post those batch payouts automatically, as well as we integrate with Stripe. So those payouts are done automatically. We post management commissions and other owner fees that someone might be, if you're keeping a booking fee, all those, maybe you're charging a supplies fee, et cetera. Those are all the things that we're going to do automatically. As far as, what's still manual, well, hey, you still have to, code transaction or code expenses to a certain degree and say, hey, what owner does this go to? Or, there's still a bit of a manual reconciliation process. Although there's a lot of stuff that auto matches and is automated, there's still there's a manual process to supporting the integration and making sure that everything is correct and reconciles to the penny into what's coming into your bank. So, everything we continue to try to make easier and simplified and automated.
Evan, did you want to add your point to that as well?
Yeah, I think the manual processes still are sort of the hard parts to automate, where it's like sort of the outlier situations that happen where, hey, there's a refund here. Who's taking the hit on the refund? Is it us as the management company? Is it the owner? And like Zimplify is not really in a position to make those decisions on behalf of us. So I think making decisions like that, the billing process, from billing owners certain things, deciding, is this something we're going to bill back to an owner? Is this charge? Hey, we bought a new something in the home. Is that something we're going to eat as a company, or is that something we're going to charge the owner? It's sort of the outlier decisions that that's where we jump in, and Zimplify works with our guest communications staff and different staff on our team to make those decisions. And so we sort of have a Slack channel where we work with them, and so they can ask us instant questions about certain refunds or certain billable items, or just different financial situations where they don't have all the information because they're not running our business, where our staff can jump in and give them some more information. So I think that's where the manual is right now. Most everything else is pretty automated, and obviously, like Jesse said, coding expenses, they're not going to know where to code expenses. You probably need to figure that out on your end.
We've also got a question in the Q&A from Imran Latif. Are you already working with short-term rental operators in the UK where the tax and VAT accounting regime is different to the USA? Jesse?
Yeah, so we do have a few international clients, some of them in Luxembourg. I don't believe we have any today that's in the UK, but we do support the VAT tax and the calculation of VAT tax. Typically, I believe that VAT tax is somewhat included in your guest invoice. If it's not, though, typically what's going to happen is that supporting the VAT tax is going to be determined or automated, however you want to look at it, through the setup of your accounting platform. So you're going to be automatically adding VAT tax on to certain items. Also with Guesty, with that one client out of Luxembourg that has VAT tax, we add, you can add a tax onto your management commission, for example, that is going to post when you're posting your management commissions to the owner. And so, that's another way that we support handling and automating that VAT tax, which is, slightly different than what you see in the US.
And I think we can probably fit in just one more question, and it was, can you use Sage Intacct for multi-family buildings? I'm considering Entrata or Yardi.
Yeah, Sage Intacct is often a alternative solution to Yardi. It probably would make sense to, have a call and understand exactly what you're using today and what you're looking to do with Yardi. We have a number of folks actually that come to us that are long-term property managers that are using a Yardi platform for a multi-family building. And the challenge that they really run into is that Yardi just does not have the solutions to support short-term rental accounting. And so then you end up in a tough situation where somebody wants to use Sage Intacct for the short-term accounting, but use Yardi for long-term, and it really is not a seamless solution at all. You really end up having kind of running two really expensive platforms that don't really talk well together. And so Yardi has a specific kind of ecosystem that they place you into. So, you know, depending on the situation, Sage Intacct usually can be a great alternative to a Yardi platform.
Thanks very much to all of our contributors, to Jesse, to Taylor and to Evan for a fantastic discussion. I did see Imran has added another question, but we've got a couple of slides we have to run through first. Our panelists are going to stay on for an extra 2 minutes right at the end after I've finished my conclusion today, so they can hopefully get back to Imran. So I've just got a couple of slides to run through before we finish. So we're building up to our annual Shorties Awards for the global short-term rental industry, which are being held at Skyline London on Wednesday, the 18th of May, 2022. And we can reveal that the 20 shortlists for the awards will be announced tomorrow on the Short-Term Rentals website and across our social channels. So do stay tuned for those. We hope to see as many of you there as possible back at an in-person event as well, and more details will be in the chat on our website. So we are back on Tuesday the 26th of April for our next Short-Term Rentals Rockstars webinar. It's called What Does Brand Loyalty Mean in the Short-Term Rental Space? We've got another cracking panel lined up for that, so do sign up for the session. It's free again in the chat, or you can scan the QR code on your screen now. The sponsorship opportunities, please do contact my colleague Katie. Her details are on screen for you now. A big thank you again to Zimplify for sponsoring this very special session. As I said, we're going to keep the session open for another 2 minutes, so you can jot down any of the details that we've left in the chat. Any questions that might have been unanswered so far. Feel free to contact us via various channels. You can see them on the screen now. All that's left from my perspective is to say thank you again for listening to all of our speakers, and we'll see you all again very soon. Thank you very much, everyone.